here. Yeah, so what I was talking about them trying to take the front doors off the hinges. There's an article from USA Today back on the 20th of November. Cash-strapped renters nationwide say the landlords tried to skirt COVID-19 eviction moratoriums by changing locks, removing trash containers so waste piled up, and, in one case, attempting to unbolt the front door right off an apartment.
Jesus Christ.
Some of the stuff is happening in Wisconsin, and they're not even happening to black people. You know, these are happening in predominantly white areas too, where these landlords just do not care. They don't care.
Yeah. I mean, it shows you why you have the landlord save money, you know. Where's there like 8 month savings that every poor person is supposed to have for financial literacy? So
because they just see tenants as an endless source of income.
Where's their savings that, you know, poor people are supposed to have allegedly? So yeah, that's the virus. But because of all these crazy stuff happening, when it feels like, you know, the government's not doing nothing for you, jobs are still making you go to work, even though with no hazard pay, whatever. I guess it's really important about friendships and about communication and community. That's what's really important right now if you want to like get through this, you know, in some ways. And one of the things that like you hear a lot, unfortunately, is it's definitely not going to be a happy hour now. We talk about this, but pretty much the reality of like how men maintain relationships. I mean, how they used to, or whatever. All this phase of whatever masculinity is at the moment that used to be was caused the highest suicide rate amongst men. It's pretty toxic. We should end it. But the idea of what I'm talking about is pretty much is like, you know, we all get taught how to like communicate in different ways. You know, when you're growing up, I guess in a normal setting, maybe in high school or like college, I feel like men get a lot of times, like in this article it talks about, it's over sports, over going to the bar, over different things, and it's not really over like, hey, let's go get some food, let's go hang out, let's go for a walk. More like this says like male friendships are often rooted in shoulder-to-shoulder interactions, such as watching football, whatever, blah blah blah. And but this is talking about I want to talk about real quick about Dr. Reginius and I. Like, you know, we met way back in the group home, and I feel like our relationship, friendship was way more atypical than the average what they so-called men. I feel like it's really strong in a way. Like we sometimes we lose communications for like months and years at a time. Sometimes we like when we get together, it's like nothing's ever happened. And but also how we would hang out. We would do go for those walks. We hang out at the parties. We hang out in Union Square. So like
sometimes you just come to the house and sit at the kitchen table and just say what's on your head. You know?
Exactly.
Sometimes just that. You know, we never talk about sports ever. Like you're like, hey, what's sports ball? You know, you know, like that's you. You know.
But we had a game. Whenever I get back on it, I mean, we have like gaming time always. You know?
Oh yeah. That's typical male shit.
Yeah, but that shows
we
you
haven't done that in years.
Yeah. But I mean, it shows you that was just a part of a thing. It wasn't like that wasn't what built our. A lot of times that could be that way, but it wasn't. It was just part of a thing that we did together. That was fun. Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of times we did it in the same room, busting people's ass.
Yeah. It met a lot of heroes on PSP.
Yeah, exactly.
We had the Wi-Fi going in the house. So, we didn't have any fucking furniture, and we were sitting on the floor busting that ass. Yo, where the party at, son? Put some bullets in there. Let's go.
So, but this thing, it talks about even before the pandemic, talk about this like a friendship crisis about, you know, this idea that, you know, we're taught that like, I mean, it goes to the weird kind of toxic thing. This toxic thing that I worry about in the sense that people talking about your feelings is gay, talking about this smiling is gay. That's the kind of stuff I heard as a kid. You know, when it comes to how
is gay. Can you you have heard all the dumb shit they're calling gay now? It's like, no, none of that has anything to do with same-sex interactions. This is just regular life
that's
shit.
But that's the kind of stuff I don't hear anymore because I'm around grown adult men. But when I was a teenager, that's the kind of stuff I heard all the time. And that kind of stuff formulates in a lot of people. That stays with some people. And that's what it talks about. Like all of a sudden having this kind
isolating.
It's isolating. Alienating. Yeah. It's very alienating, you know. Um, so, and right now that's really hurting people. And like I said before, men have the highest suicide rate. Even though I experienced suicide experience on a different side, but men have the highest suicide rate.
Yeah, by like a factor of 5.
Yeah. So, and right now people are really going through the pandemic. And I like how this article begins. Pretty much, it's like, well, a lot of things I've heard about. Um, in the spring, after the 35-year-old had left the home he shared with his former girlfriend and moved into a studio in Falls Church, Virginia, on his own, he would go an entire week without saying a word. Like, imagine sitting around not talking to nobody for a week.
Yeah, I want to go back to the first sentence. We skipped over that first sentence. It took a global pandemic and a badly timed breakup. And that hits home for me because, I've had time to think about what I've been through in the last 3 weeks or so. I guess you can call what I went through as close to a breakup as you can go through without like really being in a super serious relationship. The emotions were pretty intertwined. And I started to see some cracks in my mental health. I had a depressive episode that, some of our viewers saw that I went kind of off the deep end as far as putting myself in negative light. Some people that know me, they know that, like, when things get really bad for me, especially around this time of the year, as Blind Bat could tell you, when we get to this time of the year and there's some sort of trigger, there's going to be all different kinds of mental health crises. For me, it was a self-identity. It was an identity crisis, really. And, the person didn't deserve what I gave them. But I realized that person wasn't really going to support me and see that, like, I was really going through something that was very serious, that, was nothing personal against that person. There was nothing personal against that woman, but she took it that way. Right. So we parted ways in a way that was less than healthy. I would have liked, if we were going to part ways, I would have rather that happen a little bit more amicably. But I didn't handle the situation well. And I can definitely see, in some ways, even though I am pretty antisocial, that being in the house every day for 9 months, isolated from other people, I can see why, people are really struggling, especially a lot of men. We don't really talk about what men go through in society because no one really cares. But the thing is, we all feel the many times we feel the consequences of depression in men through a lot of self-destructive and otherwise destructive activities where, they'll harm themselves or someone else. And in this case, emotionally, I harmed someone else. Yeah. And I really didn't want to harm that person. And I ended up doing that. So, and of course, I did that to harm myself. I wasn't trying to harm them. I was just trying to harm myself. So, this is one of those unintended consequences, one of those things that slides underneath the radar when we're talking about pneumonia and we're talking about ACE2 receptors and vaccines.
Like how people are feeling right now.
What people are going through in their minds. The stress. We talked about the kids, right? We talked about the kids several months ago.
Yeah.
And the mental health struggles that they've been having.
Yeah, that's like pretty much like a generational disruption right now. It's like we're gonna see the effects on these kids in the years to come.
You're gonna see the effects on us, everybody, not just the kids, but there are gonna be certain psychological long-term effects. Some of them positive, but most of them negative.
Yeah, I mean, I ran into adults, no matter the gender, who have said, like, it's been hard to like to start talking to people again, like outside for so long because they've been like quarantined for so long, and like I've heard that kind of stuff. Like this normal social things he totally took for granted. People are like trying to figure out, do we learn again? And it's like everyone, all kind of like social skill level. People are having a hard time right now. And if you're a person who like holds in everything and like only time you hang out with people is because of something, because of an event, not really because of like just to talk about stuff. It's hard to talk about feelings. All the thing you do with your friends is go see a movie all the time or go to a club with loud music. You can't really talk about your feelings, and that's the only thing you do with your friends. So if that's the only social like level you have with your friends, and the pandemic happened, it's really hard time for this kind of like stuff. So, but at the same time, it's enough time to try to figure out other ways to do it. Have that weekly call, have that twice a week call. Have that kind of thing that you have with people just to talk about stuff.
But it's hard for a lot of people because just like I was talking about that failed relationship that I was the author of the demise of, I
Yeah.
take full responsibility for it. There was that feeling still that my problems are not, there's not something that my friends should have to deal with. If I've got, I'm supposed to be there to provide happy times. I'm supposed to be there to provide entertainment for my friends. But a lot of us don't expect any kind of real, tangible, or otherwise intangible support from the people around us because we feel like it's inappropriate.
And it sounds
don't
like
talk about your problems. Don't talk about religion. Don't
no,
talk about
for me,
politics.
like for you and me, this sounds mad basic. Like this grown ass man discovering this, like, oh, I get to walk with my friends. he's like, oh, really?
I mean, remember, we were fucking homeless. That's the only thing we could do was walk around. That's the only thing we could afford to do was walk around and look at all the people that weren't homeless like we were.
He's a this grown ass man is like 42-year-old man. It's like, wow, walk with my friends. So hopefully that keeps him from like killing his family or whatever. So so that's what's going on. Everyone's going through a kind of emotional revelation in different ways, man, small or large, in this pandemic. It's interesting, hopefully it leads to more positive things. I'm worried about people falling into the negative thing, which is like addiction. I hear people like were going drug binges when the lockdown happened. People go on coke binges and like meth binges, so kind of weird drug binges to stay. I don't know what they were doing, during the lockdown. So now we're going to another weird lockdown in the wintertime. Who knows was kind of like extreme addictive kind of things might happen to certain people. So that's another worrisome thing. How you deal with pain, how you deal with trauma, So and also the fact we don't have no therapy. I mean, where's the mental health, aspect of it as well? Like, it goes back to your saying, like, friends, you should hang out with friends and talk about that and stuff like that. But if your friends become hardcore, your therapists, because of severe issues, then you need
start shying away from you.
Yeah, you need that professional, anchor in your life as well. That's very important. But also the fact that we live in a society that doesn't provide healthcare so uniformly, so it's hard for people to even have to think about that.
And that's if you actually have a boo-boo that you can actually see.
Yeah.
A lot of the scars that people have, you can't readily see it. Even, they tell you about pre-existing conditions, right?
Yeah.
So they don't, like, if they're not going to help you when it's obvious you need help, when it's not so obvious to people who, kind of fail when it comes to emotional intelligence, it's going to be that much harder to get what you need. It's pretty tragic in a lot of ways.
Yeah. So don't knock people for getting the PS5. The PS5 has voice chat, so you can get to like chat with people. That's the thing. People
taking out their frustrations on these video games.
Yes, exactly. You get to meet.
You need them to do that because if they're not doing it on the PS5, they're doing it in your neighborhood.
Yeah, they're gonna do it in the Walmart. So that's the virus. Hopefully this gives you some light. Hopefully it gives you some hope that people are figuring out ways to stay healthy mentally. So follow us on.
No man is an island. No man is an island. We don't. I'm a strong, independent man. I don't need no male friends. Nah. Don't work that way.
No. We all need Morgan Freeman.
No man is an island.
Stand by me.
Unless your name is Gilligan. But even he had people.
Even Tom Hanks put a face in the ball.
Yeah.
He has somebody on that island. So that's the virus. Follow us on Twitch and Facebook and Twitter. And check out clips on YouTube. We have over 45,000 subscribers on Act.tv. Check that out. It's pretty awesome.